Hello everyone, it's Leon and I am here with Rob.
Hello.
Who has been reviewing The Puppeteer. Now, what have you given it?
I've given it an 8 out of 10. Very nearly a 9. I was
said-
umming and ahhing between an 8 and a 9 for a long time.
What was the umming and ahhing? Because, I mean, it looks beautiful.
It's a wonderful, beautiful, original, creative game. But as you can probably see here, you've got like curtains either side of the stage. It's set within this kind of... it's like a stage show.
You hear the audience and you're like shouting.
You hear the audience. That's all great. I loved that. But quite often, like between acts, each bit of the game is divided into acts. You get these really kind of lengthy drama-style cutscenes where it does like a bit of a stage show.
Yeah.
And I was loving them at first, but then they kind of started to take forever. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. There's one stage later on where there's like 3 songs, one after the other. And I was like, this is really nice, but I really want to play the game now. I just want to play the game. And sometimes I think it gets too wrapped up in its whole concept to really let the game
It's
breathe.
massively conceptual, isn't it?
Yeah.
The audience and the curtains and the narrators. It's only a couple of narrators, isn't there? All doing like all the voices.
I think it's one guy. I'm pretty sure it's one guy. He does the narration and then he kind of swoops into the voice of the Moon Bear King. Who's like, it's like Stephen Fry reading the Harry Potter.
It reminds me,
audio
like Jack and Nori, that
Yeah.
sort of thing, isn't it?
But yeah, like you see, the scissors now that you're using are like one of the most fun devices I've used in the game for ages.
What are the mechanics? We know, so the story is that it's Kotaro has lost his head and he's got these other heads. I think we're about to see some heads in a moment. So can you just sort of explain what are the mechanics, what are the sort of the things going on?
Well, basically, yeah, you're a little puppet who's had his head ripped off by the Moon Bear King, and you've got to like put different heads on as you travel through the story. You pick up like, really random things like a cherry blossom head or a burger or a fish or a frog. But you steal this magic pair of scissors called Calibris, and they can cut through loads of stuff. Like you use them to cut through bosses, you use them in combat, but you also use them for traversal quite a lot in platforming. As you saw there, he was like cutting through leaves to move around.
So are you steering that? Is that like...
Yeah, you steer it, and like later on you'll unlock better abilities for the scissors. Like you'll do a snip where the scissors start glowing red, and then if you snip again just in time, you'll like propel yourself forward for a little speed boost.
Okay.
And there's also like side-scrolling platformy sections that are like you use the scissors to snip along strings. And it all goes really fast. But there's such a fun. This is just a really kind of satisfying.
It looks,
cutting
just watching them move
yeah.
around, they look satisfying.
And the sound it makes as well. It's just a really kind of snip, snip, snippy sound. They sound like scissors you'd use at school when you're a kid, when you're doing arts and craft, and you're like cutting through. It's just a really, really fun thing to use, and a beautiful idea.
What about the heads? You mentioned them briefly. So you collect these heads. If you lose it, we saw it there. If you lose it, you can get it back quickly. What happens? Because the heads have different powers. What I was thinking of, if you lose a head with a power you need, does that affect...
No, you never really need the head's powers to progress through the game. You'll need them at certain stages to unlock bonus areas. You'll get like an area where, say, there's like a spider symbol, and if you have the spider head at that point, you can do the spider's action, and like the spider will come down and take you to a bonus area. For instance. There's loads of hidden things in each level that are really well hidden, actually. Like finding everything is going to take quite a long time. But for actual story purposes, you don't really need the heads. They're kind of just there as a kind of like your kind of health, basically. If you lose a head, you've got a certain amount of time to grab it back before it disappears, and if you lose 3 heads, then it's...
That's interesting, because when it was initially sort of presented and they were showing it off, it's sort of, you got the idea that there was a knight head and that was a shield, and a ninja head let you drop bombs, and it seemed like the heads were different roles, almost like classes.
You do collect those abilities, but weirdly enough, they're not linked to heads.
Right.
Like you get a shield, and when you unlock the shield, he'll do like a little animation where he gets a knight's head, but you don't actually get to wear that head, weirdly. And you just get the shield, and you can use that whenever you like, and you also get ninja bombs, like you said, and there's other abilities you unlock later on.
So they're just lives then. They're not. It's not like you use a head for certain
lives,
jobs.
and they're like novelty collection items as well. Lots of them are hidden away. Like there's like a dinosaur fossil head as well, and like loads of weird little things. They're mainly just like novelty collectibles.
Okay.
Which was slightly disappointing. I'd have
Well,
liked
that's.
to
I
have
thought
been,
that was. It's presented like that was the point, wasn't it? The heads have specific roles.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen more kind of, maybe puzzle solving with the heads. You need a certain head to, quite often you'll get to a stage and there'll be like a picture, there'll be like a symbol of the head that you haven't got. Like, how do I get that head? And it'll be a head that's like hidden away. So yeah, they're like using each of their unique abilities is fun and it's funny, but it doesn't really add anything
to
like the overall story.
What about the rest of the gameplay? Is it twin stick? Are you controlling? You have a cat, don't you, and this little girl? Do you control them on the second stick?
You do. You control them on the right stick. They're essentially like a little cursor, and you can move them around the world with the right stick and press X to interact on things like, say, like a bush, or there's one stage where you're going through this area and a bunch of guys are throwing boulders at you behind rocks, and you can use Piccarina, that's the fairy.
Right.
You can move her up to the rocks and like chip the rocks away, so you reveal their hiding place, and they run away and they stop throwing boulders at you and things like that. But she's the daughter of the sun, oddly enough. that's the kind of story we're getting here.
It's not based on any actual mythology. They just made up a complete fantasy thing.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
So we're seeing like basically it's a platformer then. So you're jumping around. Are there any other sort of mechanics, any other things that it does? So it's the scissors to move around, the fairy girl to sort of interact with objects, and heads to have a bit of fun, basically.
Yeah, it's very similar mechanically to Little Big Planet, I'd say, in the kind of tone as well. It's a lot darker than Little Big Planet. Some of it's very sinister, and it's quite violent as well. Like some of the boss characters, I'm sure you've seen like in the trailer and stuff, one of the early boss fights is against a tiger, and you have to kill him by cutting his teeth out. Basically, you go inside his mouth and just hack away at his teeth, and then he kind of dies quite violently.
I think
and then the
good children's kind of story should be a bit dark and a bit violent. Are the boss fights any good? I've seen a few of them go past, and some of them looked a bit like they might be.
There are lots of them. They're very old school boss fights.
That's what I thought.
You've got to learn a boss's pattern.
It's hard to do those without making them frustrating.
Some of them are frustrating, but quite a lot of them are so funny. They're so well designed. Like the tiger one is great. None of them are particularly challenging either, so there's not that much frustration involved. And quite a lot of the time, beating them involves using your scissors, and any time you get to use your scissors is great, because whenever Puppeteer actually using the scissors, that's when it's at its strongest. So yeah, I quite enjoyed the boss fights. Like I said, they're very old school, but not really that frustrating at all.
Okay. What's the premise behind all the different things we're seeing? Because we're seeing like frogs and drums, bamboo, there's pirate ships, you go under the sea. What's the kind of the wider thing going on there?
Well, it's just like all the areas that he's moving through. I think we spoke to Gavin Moore a while ago, the director on the game, and he said the idea came to him when he was playing a game with his son, and his son just went off into the garden and said, I'm bored now, I don't want to play this game anymore.
Right.
And he thought, oh, okay, and that gave him the idea to make a game where the scene is constantly changing.
Yeah.
You'll never be in the same place for more than 5 minutes, and you get to the end of a thing, because everything that's happening is happening on stage in the game. That's the whole point of it. Like the scenes are constantly shifting.
You see the scenery kind of comes in, doesn't it? Yeah.
So, it never wants to keep you in the same place for too long, and the pace is really, really quick as well. Sometimes that can get a bit tiring, the way it's, constantly, a barrage of, different scenery constantly lumped in there. But, the variety is amazing. You never really do the same thing twice. There's always something new to do in each level.
Cool.
This bit especially, this is a great sequence, the pirate level.
I'd watch this almost as a film. It's like the animation and the lighting and everything is so beautifully done. You say the cutscenes are too long. I'm not sure if I would be overly...
Yeah, I guess it's a matter of opinion whether you think that's a fault with the game or not.
You think
they are beautiful,
MGS is, part of its selling point is there will be a 4-hour cutscene.
Yeah, I mean they're fun to watch, but the game for me was so much fun. Anytime I wasn't snipping something with my scissors, I was like, what? Why?
So it's almost like too much of a good thing. You're enjoying the game so much you don't want to sort of waste time not playing the game.
There's almost a missed opportunity. Like they could have added something interactive to these cutscenes as well. Like maybe there's the songs could have been like a rhythm action sequence maybe, or I'm sure there could have been something they could have done. But yeah, some of these cutscenes just outstay their welcome, in my opinion.
But otherwise, 8 out of 10, very highly recommended.
Yeah, very, very. One of the most original and creative games I've seen on PS3.
Brilliant.
And it's beautiful. Good
Lovely.
fun.
Okay, well, thank you very much. If you want any questions at all, leave a comment, and we'll speak to you guys later.
Bye.
And so, with the footprint of urgency firmly impressed upon his behind, Kuturo was off to the foul abyss of Davy Jones's locker to bring Pig, Sheep, and their vessel the Moby to justice.